to see it. I mean, I did look out the window and they were, people were running out of the building.
Like Barbara, she too is scarred by what happened in the middle of the night on her street.
Terror can be up the street from you.
Both Barbara and Beth know their pain is nothing compared to friends and family.
I can't imagine what the victims and the survivors and the first responders, what they all went through.
And what Orlando went through.
I hope that it's made us better. I think it maybe has made us a little bit kinder. I could never forget that.
No matter how much time passes. Really imagine what it must be like to live in that area, to have heard that, seen that, and then see it every day. And Martha, as we look at it Pulse right now, as you can see, people still continue to stream past that memorial.
Hundreds of people have made their way here. People coming in from out of town, as we've been hearing, coming here to pay their respects to the 49 lives lost, the 49 angels who are no longer with us. We'll be back right after this.
There's more to come at 4. Some Pulse survivors and families say they spent the past year trying to change gun laws.
I pray that we can change that.
So we're checking whether any lawmakers heard them. Then, saving symbols of Orlando strong.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'll take you inside the History Center to see what happened to the big Art Center memorial. And the officers who opened fire on the Pulse gunman still aren't officially cleared in the shooting a year later.
So in my mind, they did the right thing.
Next, we're asking why the delay.
Yeah, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those officers.
Yes. Yeah, so the 2 times. Yeah. Yep, and that's when you go over and then come back. And I think there's another time, but I don't know. Maria will be here, but they're supposed to be here at 4. Oh. So, and I want to run it just with you with them. Madge, are we ready to roll music? This will be your microphone.
Hello.
Doves fly, that's when you'll start to make your difference.
It has been 1 year since tragedy struck at the Pulse nightclub. 49 lives taken, and right now you are looking live along Orange Avenue as mourners continue to stream by. Tonight, there will be another event there for the public at 10 p.m. At 7 o'clock behind us at the bandshell, a chance to honor those lives lost, those families that were just decimated by the act of one lone gunman on that night, June 12th, 2016.
And on the night of the Pulse terror attack 1 year ago, 14 officers opened fire on the shooter, Omar Mateen, but non-investigates learned they still have not been officially cleared of wrongdoing.
Investigative reporter Carla Ray sat down with the chief of police, who was still waiting on a final review of the shootout. And Carla, what's taking so long here?
Well, nearly every officer involved shooting in Central Florida is reviewed like this by the state attorney's office. Police were in grave danger that night, whether they were rescuing survivors out of a hole in the wall where this air conditioning unit was inside a bathroom, or when they actually broke through the wall of the club and engaged that gunman in a firefight as he came out to confront them. And you'll remember this image, one of the most powerful ones we saw. One officer hit in the helmet with gunfire. When the smoke cleared, the entire crime scene at the club was controlled by the FBI, and that, plus a mountain of evidence, is why those officers are still waiting for that final review.
Artwork, tributes, and messages from around the world block the view where a bearcat broke through the wall of Pulse 1 year ago.
Hard to believe it has been 1 year. Sometimes I think about it and it seems like it just happened yesterday, and then sometimes it feels like 10 years ago.
Orlando Police Chief John MINA was forced to put his own officers in danger to help end the danger to innocent club goers, still trapped in a bathroom with the man who had already killed 49 people. Once the wall was breached, those hostages came pouring out, along with Omar Mateen, his gun in hand.
Who came out and shot at our officers, and really one of our officers came within an inch of losing his life.
But that officer, Michael Napolitano, and the 13 others who fired their weapons, killing Mateen, are still waiting for official clearance that the shoot was considered justified. As is standard with any officer-involved shooting, a full review is being completed by the state attorney's office. A year later, key ballistics evidence is still being processed by the FBI.
In my mind, they did the right thing and will be justified.
But that doesn't make it easier to wait on a report that could bring closure to officers who stared down terror and pulled the trigger.
And once you get that final letter, that final clearance, although you know in your heart, in your head, you did the right thing to save your life and the lives of others, it's still nice to have that come to a close.
A little bit of closure for those officers. MINA says he has been in touch with the FBI, and so far there's no indication that there were any incidents of friendly fire. But even the final report from the FBI may not be able to say that for sure. Greg and Martha?
All right, those brave men and women that went inside Pulse that night should be congratulated in terms of the investigation. We'll talk more with Police Chief John MINA. He will join us live on our set across from Lake Eola within the next hour, Martha.
He, in fact, is getting ready to make his way over to us right now here at Lake Eola. Some of the concerns today, though, kind of a gloomy day. We were expecting rain this afternoon.
It's fitting that it's gloomy.
Exactly. But the good news here is that the rain is held off so that our community can come as one here down to the heart of downtown Orlando and be together on this day. And Tom Terry's live right now at Severe Weather Center 9. And Tom, we certainly hope the rain's going to stay away.
Well, so far, the clouds have just gone around Metro Orlando. Let me show you what it looks like now, looking for some dark clouds indeed, but we've only had a few passing showers so far. So good for the hundreds, albeit thousands of people that are out and around right now. Here's a look at early warning Doppler 9 radar. You can see how the storms have just kind of encircled on the western and northern fronts here. Downtown Orlando is storm south, but right now Metro Orlando for the moment is clear. You can see this kind of ring of heavy storms very slowly pushing north and west, but growing throughout its process from Pine Hills over toward Apopka to Ocoee. The closest storms we have west of downtown are now west of Pine Hills over by the 429 and the Florida Turnpike over near Ocoee. These showers are very heavy. Occasional lightning from Riverside Acres working north and west through south of Apopka, eventually up toward Mount Plymouth, and Plymouth coming up in the next 20 minutes. As far as Lake Eola, where we have our coverage right now, we're between about 4 and 5 miles to the north, and nothing that is immediately threatening the downtown area. So we're keeping close tabs on that as we are throughout the entire area. Big storm that just moved past Oviedo right now, still raining there, but the lightning was nearly 200 strikes. chance in the past half hour. It is still wet over Daytona, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna. Those showers will continue for at least another hour. So it's going to continue there through Orange City, DeLand, De Leon Springs. Couple of new pop-up storms south of Ocala. And we're also watching this line of storms south of downtown from St. Cloud to Kissimmee. Those showers working north toward Meadow Woods. Now by 5:15, the bulk of the rainfall will start to weaken here toward the north and east. We're still going to be watching very closely through about 5:30 for possible storms in and around Metro Orlando for all the folks that are outdoors now for the Pulse. Working to the west, though, by later on tonight. For tomorrow, we still have the same setup. High pressure nearby, abundant moisture. So from the late morning, we'll start up scattered activity along the East Coast, push it inland during the afternoon. If you're heading outdoors toward the attractions, not much rain before noon, but then we get a 40 to 50, as high as about a 60% rain coverage across the I-4 corridor once again tomorrow. So again, another very active wet season afternoon. St. Cloud, more the same for you, 40 to 50% storm coverage for tomorrow. Here's your 5-day forecast. Weekend always in view, lots of 80s, lots of very active afternoons, at least a 60% storm chance through Friday, including the upcoming weekend. Vanessa.
Back here in the Eyewitness News studios, we have some other major news we're following today. Accused cop killer Markeith Lloyd was back in court. Next, why a judge just refused to let him choose his own attorney.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Markeith Lloyd is stuck with his local court-appointed lawyer. Today, a judge decided the Miami attorney the accused cop killer claims to trust won't be allowed to join the case.
Police say Lloyd killed his ex-girlfriend, her unborn baby, and an Orlando police lieutenant before going on the run back in January. Channel 9's Field Sutton has followed the case from day one.
It had been a while since we heard or saw anything really out of this case, but then on Friday, Lloyd's lawyer filed a motion saying essentially that Lloyd doesn't trust him. He made that same argument in court today, telling the judge that if it goes all the way to trial like that, it's a violation of Lloyd's rights.
After more than a week on the run back in January, defense attorney Roger Wheaton says the Markeith Lloyd murder cases
are just too famous.
The amount of publicity that this case created.
He argues the drive to catch Lloyd led police to the doors of everyone he'd ever met, giving them the shakedown for information.
So a great deal of distrust, not only with my client, but with his family, with persons in the community.
The accused cop killer is now arguing a 1996 murder case in which he was charged but never prosecuted, left a bad taste in his mouth. Although he did not get to choose his lawyer that time either.
So Mr. Lloyd's had some success with the court appointed counsel. To have a murder charge and no props is about as successful as you can be.
Yeah, but the key witness broke down in deposition here. The investigator was paying the violence. That's why I got no problem. He's being framed.
Lloyd's trademark outburst was mild by his standards.
You might want to consider taking a look at the existing list and determining whether you would like to work with someone on that list.
Defense attorney Whedon is left looking at plans B, C, and D now that plan A has been denied. The defense told the court today it needs at least 1 solid year to get this case ready, so the judge set the trial for September of 2018. In Orlando, Field Sutton, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Now we want to resume our special presentation of Pulse 1 year later. Let's send it out live to Greg Wormuth and Martha Sagowski.
All right, Vanessa, thanks so much. The attack at Pulse 1 year ago would spark a mission for some survivors as well as...
It really has, and that mission deals with guns. Next at 4, we are checking in on those efforts to close the loopholes, if you will, when it comes to gun laws that some advocates say gave the Pulse gunmen so much firepower. And the touching Pulse tributes began very early this morning.
It speaks to the love and the friendship that's here in Orlando.
Some similarities shared between this morning's event and last year just after the Pulse nightclub attack.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Put the other one back on, because that's a new one they just put on you. Yeah, I think they must have changed out, like at the shift change.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out right now.
How much time we have?
2 minutes.
Like it's, I don't know. Mike, I think it's a big thing. Try the mic. Try the mic first. Let's see if we get the mic.
It's
okay. Keep talking.
Martha's microphone. Martha's microphone.
It could be the belt pack.
Hello.
It's like watching.
Can you hear me?
How does that sound? Anybody talk to us? How does that sound? We got Martha
right.
here.
Hi. Hello. Hi, Martha's microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, that's good. Let's isolate.
I'm good.
Okay. Those bad mics. Let's move it closer to your ear. Let me take this off and get this. Bend this to your. Oops, sorry. Right there. Okay, that's good.
Martha's mic. We better?
Is there anything that's changed?
Hmm?
Okay.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check. We good? Thank you.
Okay, how's that?
Feels good.
Don't move a muscle. Welcome back to Lake Eola as we get set to remember the lives lost 1 year ago today. It is our major story this afternoon. Again, today marks 1 year since the Pulse terror attack, June 12, 2016. And as the healing continues tonight, not everyone is actually satisfied with what's been accomplished over this last 365 days.
Yeah, in fact, some survivors and family members of victims have actually struggled to close what they felt were loopholes in the nation's gun laws. Channel 9 investigative reporter Christopher Heath has been keeping tabs on this effort. And Chris, it's tough to tell whether lawmakers are hearing them.
And Martha, Greg, if they are, it's really hard to tell if anything's been done because nothing's really been done, at least on the federal level, to close some of these loopholes. Advocates argue that it is these loopholes that helped Omar Mateen obtain some of the weaponry he used in that attack. But despite the repeated visits to Capitol Hill and to Tallahassee, survivors say not much is happening, but they're not ready to give up.
2 weeks after the shooting. Marches for change. 1 month to the day after the shooting.
My son died a horrible death. He didn't deserve that, neither did anybody else in that club.
Testimony before Congress throughout the summer.
I pray that we can change that for my sake, for everyone's sake.
And into the new year, the same push, gun control, tightening restrictions on high-capacity, quick reload weapons, and keeping people on the no-fly list from buying guns.
Something that we could work hard now and make sure that doesn't happen again.
A year later, none of the laws victims called for have been enacted.
Is it frustrating that here we are a year removed? Nothing's changed.
Frustrating, yes. Surprising, no.
Pulse survivor Brandon Wolf lost 2 friends in the attack.
If you had real conversations with everyday people, they might agree more than you think they disagree.
Brandon has been having those conversations for the last year with anyone that will listen, but says people don't want to discuss gun control. And for the last 12 months, those that can bring change haven't.
I think that it's confusing. I think that it's frustrating.
And earlier this year, 2 Central Florida members of the Florida legislature introduced an assault weapons ban in Tallahassee. That bill didn't go anywhere. Of course, the frustration when you talk to advocates is that gun control proponents not really as well organized or as well funded as those in the gun lobby, which right now holds sway in the state capitol. Greg and Martha.
Christopher, thank you. That was one of our big topics during our town hall, the community town hall, which aired just last night here on Channel 9.
Now, we asked Orlando Police Chief John MINA as well as Orange County Sheriff Jerry Demings about what is being done to end gun violence and prevent another possible attack right here in Central Florida. Sheriff Jerry Demings says the community can always help.
What we have tried to do through an awareness program is communicate to people that if they see something that doesn't look quite right as it relates to their overall safety and security in our community, to share that information with law enforcement.
Now, if you missed last night's town hall, you can watch it again on WFTV.com. Both Sheriff Jerry Demings and Chief John MINA told us a lot of communication is happening between the scenes with law enforcement, and that intelligence and tips that they get actually helps them prevent future possible attacks. And Channel 9 Eyewitness News hosted that special town hall with survivors and family members of the victims and local and community leaders inside the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts, where you are looking at live right now.
That lawn really became maybe the front door, if you will, Martha, to Orlando, a great place for memorials and people to grieve. The streets around that DPAC area really all intersect and interchange, and that's right there by the Pulse nightclub, where again, a lot of those roads were closed for weeks. People needed a place to go to pay their respects, and that's where they went, right there at the DPAC. It was an amazing outpouring of love and support, and that support was even attended by the president and vice president, both in the same place at the same time, to again provide their condolences, visit people that were in the hospital, and also tell the Central Florida community how sorry they were about what happened on June 12th, 2016.
It seemed the perfect place for everyone in our community to come together as one. And so many nights when we would drive by, you would see people there just being together, feeling better as one. Their kids came, they came, and the whole community, it seemed that that was the place to be in the heart of downtown Orlando. And as the months passed, one question a lot of us had was, what happens to all of those tributes?
Well, Martha, those memorials actually were collected, not until it was time to collect them. And most of those items actually wound up at the Orange County Regional History Center. They've worked hard to collect and care for thousands of tributes. I was the first TV journalist to see how that process worked, and now I can take you inside to show you two that you'll be able to witness these items one-on-one inside the Orange County Regional History Center. It is hallowed ground, an area hidden from public view until now.
This is our archival area behind the scenes at the Regional History Center.
That hum you hear, the sound of air conditioning. It keeps the room at a perfect 70 degrees.
It's essential to us to keep our humidity and air at a particular level.
It's part of the process to protect the items that were left at the memorials in the elements of a Florida summer.
There's particular museum quality blotter paper that you can use that will take the water right out of items.
And restoring them. The outcome? Amazing.
The rain, the wind, the horrible conditions that were out there last summer, this hung in there in this shape for about a week and a half before we finally collected it.
Now the next step, finding out who left them behind.
All of these items have a story to tell.
We saw only a handful of the 5,000 pieces collected.
Every single item gets a number and is marked in some way.
Being inside this room was surreal. Seeing these remembrances up close brings back a lot of emotion.
A globe, and somebody put a heart over Florida and put Orlando United.
Pieces were left for mourners from all over the globe. Some things, like this construction paper flower, are just a bit faded. It's a testament to the work of Michael Gibson's staff, who learned a lot, including removing wax.
It was so hot out that the wax still melted and just spread.
You could see at one time this card was wet, but it's perfect condition. Including this box, containing 49 hearts. There's a 49 with the hearts inside. Yeah. That's beautiful. But nothing in this collection was brought here before it honored the lives lost.
They were not made for this collection. People made them to be in the memorial sites. And we wanted to honor that as best we could to allow the items to serve their time and serve their true purpose.
Very surreal as I went into the Orange County Regional History Center. You can see some of the items in person. It started this morning. You can go, and it's free to the public, and it's free until Saturday, June 17th. The One Orlando collection will also go live online today. You can see all the items. You can also go there and comment to help tell the story of the makeshift memorials. There's a lot of questions that still are left to be answered, and the History Center wants to document that so that even though we look back on this dark day, we'll remember all the good that came from it.
And I think what struck me the most after watching your story is the care and the love that went into saving every article, every item that someone brought out there. And I love looking at that box with the 49 hearts that were so carefully and delicately made and placed in that box.
We had our rubber gloves on, perfect temperature in there, 50% humidity, everything really. It felt like a shrine.
And for the people who haven't been able to in the past come down and maybe go to Pulse or see a memento from that day, they now have an opportunity, and they can, as you said, even go online to see these items.
Absolutely.
Well, just 2.5 days after the worst terror attack in modern American history, tragedy struck a family of all places at Disney. And Channel 9 anchor Vanessa Echols is joining us live now from the studio with more on that. And Vanessa, I can remember being in the newsroom and hearing the call. We couldn't believe that that happened at Disney.
That's it, Greg and Martha, we all remember that, and we couldn't believe it. A family from Nebraska was playing on the beach outside the Grand Floridian. It was a Tuesday night, June 14th, when an alligator suddenly attacked that 2-year-old. His name is Lane Graves. The child's father tried but failed to save the boy, and it took divers more than 15 hours to find that child's body.
And a full investigation was conducted. State wildlife agents and trappers captured and killed nearly a half-dozen alligators. Eventually, Disney put up new rope fences to discourage people from playing along the beach. They also installed better signs. Instead of just warning against swimming in the water, the signs tell visitors that alligators and snakes could actually be in the area. And, you know, an interesting thought on that, people would have automatically thought that the child's family would have sued, and they did not. They have, in fact, established a foundation in their son's name. So, but again, another tragedy in that horrible week a year ago.
Right. And Marty, so many of us have taken our families there. I know your boys, you've taken them there. I've taken my children there. And to hear that would happen, of all places, of Disney, we couldn't wrap our heads around it.
We were at work that night, and Orange County Sheriff Jerry Dimmings met with the media after midnight, after all that he had gone through. Now, it's hard to believe that was not the only tragedy we were dealing with at that time. Just a day and a half before Pulse, a popular singer was killed in a different Orlando club. And Marty, we all remember what happened that night at Plaza Live to Christina Grimmie.
Yeah, we sure do. In fact, this story was grabbing national attention until Pulse happened the next evening. On Friday night, June 10th, singer Christina Grimmie was gunned down at the Plaza Live Theater in Orlando. She was a popular finalist from the TV show The Voice. Investigators say a crazed fan, pictured here, Kevin Loyable, believed he was in love with her. They say he drove from the Tampa area, came over here, and shot and killed Grimmie during a meet and greet after the concert. Police say her brother tried to catch Loyable, but Loyable took his own life. So all of that happened that week. In fact, when some of the very first reports started coming in about Pulse that night, some people were confused, including some of us, confused, thinking the news was actually related to the Christina Grimmie incident because that had just happened, and you couldn't imagine that this situation at Pulse was happening.
Yeah, back-to-back nights, and people were, as you mentioned, just confused. Like, no, I think you're referring to Christina
exactly.
Grimmie. Yeah,
they sure were. Greg?
And how much more could our community take between Christina Grimmie and Pulse, and then the attack at Disney, all eyes focused on the City Beautiful?
And what I would say to you, how much more could our city take? We took it as a community very well, and in terms of healing, I think we've done that very well. It's just the beginning of that healing, really. We're 1 year in, and tonight is a big part of that healing.
So many people will be coming here to Lake Eola. So many people still, as we're looking at pictures right now of Pulse, hundreds and hundreds of people going to Pulse right now to pay their respects to the 49 angels that are no longer here. And already we've been seeing hundreds of people pour in behind us at Lake Eola. At the band shell, we've been hearing the music playing, the chorus playing, to get ready to honor those lives lost.
Vanessa, back to you guys in the studio.
And Greg, today's tributes began very early this morning with an intimate and personal visit to the Pulse nightclub.
Everybody lost somebody, or you know somebody that lost somebody.
Next, the small silver lining that a loved one says helped her stay strong despite what happened at Pulse.
We're also following other major local news today. Late yesterday, Puerto Rico voted to become a state. Ahead, what one local lawmaker is looking to do to help Central Florida. And stocks down on Wall Street today. Here's a look at the final numbers.
As we look live at the Pulse nightclub again, we remember the attack happened just past 2 o'clock in the morning. It was June 12th, 2016.
And early this morning, while many of you were asleep, hundreds gathered at the club once again to pay their respects.
And Channel 9's Roy Ramos was there too.
Large crowds continue to gather here outside of Pulse nightclub. In fact, we do expect these crowds throughout the day on this 1-year anniversary of the Pulse tragedy. I can tell you that we were, in fact, just around the corner the night of that shooting on Cayley Street. We could hear those loud bangs as Orlando SWAT made their way inside of Pulse nightclub, not knowing that 49 people would lose their lives. I also remember driving home, seeing Orlando police officers consoling random strangers on the street. It is that love and compassion that we saw here today.
It was a very emotional night.
It has been 1 year to the day since the Pulse terror attack, and the day brought family and friends of victims back to the nightclub at 2 a.m. for a ceremony to honor the 49 lives taken June 12th. White angels surrounded Pulse for a private ceremony where I heard Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer tell loved ones, "Orlando loves you, and the city has your back."
So one silver lining that I can find in all of this is the amount of love and the amount of care that everybody had for each other, and not just Orlando, but just the entire world.
Jim McDermott stood outside of the ceremony to honor his friend Chris Bowden, the first survivor after Pulse to lose his life from his injuries.
And I think it speaks to the love and the friendship that's here in Orlando.
Orange County Mayor Teresa Jacobs spoke to family members while we watched as people consoled one another, held candles in silence as two pastors then read the names of all 49 victims, some holding others who broke down in tears.
We want to make sure people know that they're not alone.
The ceremony at 2 a.m. this morning lasted about 30 minutes. This was a private ceremony, so many of the people that we spoke with did not want to go on camera, and we respected their privacy during this difficult time. Here in downtown Orlando, Roy Ramos, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Well, the rainstorms are moving close.
Very close.
But we have the big event at Lake Eola
yes,
this
we do.
evening.
A lot of folks outside so far. We've got the dome is holding over downtown. Let me show you. It is raining elsewhere. It's still raining in Daytona. We have showers near Cocoa Beach. Very close to our north and south cams that are high atop the SunTrust building in downtown Orlando. Of course, we have Lake Eola, Pulse, a lot of folks outdoors right now. Let me show you early warning Doppler 9 radar. We are very close here, just kind of on the western fringe of the I-4 corridor with some of our heaviest thunderstorms. There is kind of a general westerly drift to some of the heavier downpours. That's where all the lightning is on the west side of Metro Orlando, but the showers are going to start to kind of drift back in with the upper level winds are kind of blowing back the other direction. So we're going to see a little bit of light rain, perhaps light to steady moderate rainfall develop on the west side of Lake Eola here in the next few minutes. Right now, storms still moving farther away north of Altamont Springs, and right now some of the closest lightning strikes I have about 3.5 to 5 miles to the west. So keeping close tabs on everybody here, of course, including in our western zones where a new storm has developed over Windermere. That's slowly working down toward the Dr. Phillips area here shortly. Harlem Heights and over by Winter Garden, scattered storms also in the Ocoee area. These storms have kind of worked their way slowly to the north. They're just not moving much today. Heathrow over by Lake Mary, another good inch and a half possible in some of these heavier downpours today. We've already had heavy rain in Oviedo, and you see the shower activity. This is what I'm talking about, how the showers just kind of develop and then drift back in from the west. The storms build up and the sea breeze moves away from the coast, but the upper level winds are blowing from the west, which blows those high top showers back toward the coast. Still looking at downpours near Celebration. The trend, though, here's Metro Orlando. The trend is going to be to take the heaviest weather west, but kind of back in a little bit of light rainfall. So I hope that's all it is. Downtown Orlando, still some scattered showers through around 6 o'clock. Then we start breaking it up a little bit as we head toward the official ceremony starting at 7 tonight. Now, as far as our rain makeover, to start the year, we had for 5 months, all the way through May 30th, 5 inches of rain. Since that time, in 13 days, we've had nearly 5 inches. So that's our wet season kicking in. Right now, lots of moisture still in our backyard. We'll continue with scattered activity from 6 o'clock, mainly in our western zones. We'll still get a little blowback, light rainfall from Metro Orlando through tonight. Of course, we're watching closely for any developing thunderstorms here here in the metro area for the next hour. Tomorrow, more scattered thunderstorms. And again, the trend is to move everything toward the west coast during the evening. 5-day forecast, weekend always in view. Relatively high, typical wet season, 50 to 60% storm coverage from Tuesday afternoon all the way through the end of this week. Orlando City back in action in Orlando for Wednesday. Maybe a little tight on some of those evening storms. And then all the way through the weekend, very typical heavy downpours in the afternoon, Vanessa.
Should Puerto Rico become America's 51st state?
An election in the Commonwealth proved that's what the citizens want. Ahead at 4, what a Central Florida leader is doing to try to make that happen.
Keep talking. Okay. Tiene que gritar. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Less than 24 hours after Puerto Rico voted to make the move towards statehood, a congressman from Central Florida says he's working on a bill to make it happen.
Congressman Darren Soto sat down with investigative reporter Christopher Heath to discuss the push for the 51st state and why he's now getting help from the most unlikely of places.
This isn't the first time Puerto Rico has voted on statehood, and while turnout was poor, this is still the clearest sign yet that the island, where residents are born U.S. citizens, are ready to add the Puerto Rican star to the Stars and Stripes.
Do you think we will see statehood for Puerto Rico?
I believe we will, but I believe it could take a little while.
Congressman Darren Soto is the first Puerto Rican elected to Congress from Florida.
We have our work cut out to convince Congress that this is the way to go.
The congressman is crafting a bipartisan bill to begin the process of making Puerto Rico a state. The island has roughly the same population as Iowa and Connecticut, and while residents are born U.S. citizens, they have limited representation in the U.S. House, nothing in the Senate, and no vote for president.
Congress has not committed to anything regarding the results of any
plebiscite.
Political analyst Maria Padilla points out the results of the weekend election, which suffered from low turnout, are not enforceable, which means for Congressman Soto's plan to move forward, Congress must be willing, something that seems unlikely given the Democratic lean of the island and the Republican control of Congress. Congressman Soto is getting help from a place you might not expect. Congressman Don Young, a Republican from Alaska, was on the island Sunday night for the vote and is working with Congressman Soto. Alaska, of course, voted in 1958 to join the Union, followed by Hawaii a year later. Christopher Heath, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Almost 1,000 families a month move from Puerto Rico to Florida. By 2020, it's estimated that Puerto Ricans will pass Cubans as the largest population group of Latinos in Florida.
We're going to resume our special live presentation of Pulse today. Here's Channel 9's Greg Warmoth and Martha Sigalski.
We are holding off on that rain, Marty. So far, so good. We have so many more news stories to tell you about the rescuers who jumped into action during Pulse on June 12, 2016. That includes this Orlando bicycle officer, what this Orlando bike officer encountered, who still rushed in without hardly any body armor.
Also coming up, we've already watched 2 touching ceremonies live at the Pulse nightclub honoring the 49 lives taken too soon. We're going to show you who else we met there as people paid their respects. A special edition of Eyewitness News at 5 is just 2 minutes away.